goodness, he about pulled the rod out of my hand.
Hey folks, Chris Souders, Catfish Crazy, and welcome to this week's episode. We've been teaching you guys all about catfishing all season long, but today we're taking it back to the beginning. We're going to teach you guys how to catch skipjack herring on the Tennessee River, but this is going to apply to a lot of places throughout the country. When we come back, we'll be introducing you to a good friend of mine, sharing some tips and tricks, and putting some bait in a boat. Hey folks, welcome back. We're on the Tennessee River with a longtime friend of mine, Doc Lang. Doc, thanks for coming out here with me today.
Yeah.
We're out here today, like I said before, we're going to be sharing a lot of information with you guys today. Now this is different, Doc. We've never done a show about teaching people how to catch bait, but it is one of the most important things for somebody that is going to be fishing for catfish.
Right.
Whether it's trophy, whether it's eaters, no matter what it may be, catching bait is one of the most important things, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, folks, I'm excited about today's show. It's going to be a really good episode. You know, like I said, we've been teaching you guys how to catch fish all out the country, but today is probably one of the most important shows that we're going to be doing. So grab yourself something to drink, some snacks. I love snacks. Stick around, and we're going to share some information. We'll be right back. All right, folks, before we get out there, you know, we're going to be up to that dam. It's going to be dangerous. I want to tie up a couple rigs before we get out there. So I'm going to show you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a swivel on to start with, and I'm just going to tie an improved clinch knot to get it started. About 7 wraps. Get it wet and tighten it up there, and then I'm going to pull off about 4 foot or so of line, and I'm going to start making my dropper loop knots. Now these knots are going to be about a foot apart, 10 inches or so. Just a regular T-knot, dropper loop knot, however you want to call them. And that'll be what we tie our jigs to. I'm going to go ahead and tie all 3 of these up. There's a lot of working parts to these, a lot of hooks, a lot of knots, but it's worth it going after these skipjack. And you don't have to tie your dropper loops real long, because we're going to cut them in half, or cut the ends off of them and just make it one single line coming off of it. Now, like I was saying there a minute ago, these are about 8 inches to a foot apart. Now a lot of that will depend on how long your rod is. If you got a shorter rod, then make them a little bit smaller, or use one less hook. And then I'm going to tie another swivel onto the very end of that with the same thing, just an improved clinch knot. Okay. Up here at the top, we're going to take our cutters. We're going to cut that one end off, and that just makes it double the size. Now on this rig, we're going to use tiny heinies. These are just a hair jig. There are a lot of different jigs you can use out there. Crappie Magnet makes some good jigs. You can get all this stuff from tacklebandit.com. All right, now we got our first dropper, and we're going to tie our jig on, just about an inch from our main line there. And I'm just going to tie a improved clinch knot to that. Now, an improved clinch knot may not be the strongest knot, like a polymer knot, but it is a very good knot, quick and easy to tie. That one's about 2 inches from our main line. Cut our tag end off, and then move on down the line. Now, something to keep in mind is these tag ends, trim them down the best you can. There's a lot of grass and weeds, and every little tag line will catch that stuff and create a different action. So there's the first part of it. Got those 3 tied on there. We're gonna get another piece of leader line, and it only needs to be just a couple feet, and we're gonna tie on a fully spoon. Now, these fully spoons just have one hook that is fixed on the end of it. That's gonna create a minnow-like look, a lot of flash and a lot of action. And a lot of times that will be what draws the skipjack to it. And then we're going to tie this spoon directly to the bottom of our rig, and then we'll be ready to go catch some skipjack. About a foot, foot and a half, maybe 2 feet. Now that can change, and sometimes you have to add weight to them. Just depends on how deep the skipjack may be or how shallow. And we are ready to go catch some skipjack.
Catfish Crazy with host Chris Souders will return in a few moments. Catfish Crazy is made possible by these outstanding sponsors: Sea Arc Boats, boats built for a lifetime; Suzuki, the ultimate 4-stroke outboard; Monster Rod Holders, #1 rod holder in catfishing; Offshore Tackle Company, often imitated, never duplicated, your leader in planer board technology; Slime Line Fishing Line, catch the fever; Smooth Moves, smooth your ride with Smooth Moves.
So Doc, let's take a minute and tell everybody kind of where we're at. We're here on the Tennessee River.
Right.
We're below Willard Dam, and it is probably one of the best places to catch skipjack.
Yes, because of all the current that we've got coming out of the dam.
So let's talk about the current first off. TVA controls these dams, and they put out a daily statement. People can go, folks, you guys can go and look at TVA. It's an app you can load on your phone, and it'll tell you how much water they are releasing hour by hour. And to me, there's not a limit of too much current, as long as the clarity of the water is good.
Right.
So clarity, when we talk about clarity, it's how far you can see down into the water, how well those skipjack are going to be able to see the baits that we're going to be using in the water.
And we don't really want them to get a good look at it.
Yes.
Because they got great eyesight, and they're sight feeders anyway. So we just want to kind of hover that bait right in front of their eyes, and then they get a reaction strike from them.
Another thing we want to talk about real quick is safety. There's a lot of people that lose their lives at these locking dams.
Below these dams, yeah.
So it is nothing to play with. Be very cautious, and I want to stress that point so much. Good protection as far as life preservers,
life jackets. We
vests,
wear them all the time.
And it's a mandatory thing
Yes.
once you get up here close to these dams.
And we're about a half a mile below the dam right now.
Yeah,
Close to a half a mile, quarter a mile.
Yeah, we're a little piece below it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be looking for seam lines. But as you approach these dams, there's a lot of areas below these dams, no matter if you're on the Ohio River, the Tennessee River, Mississippi River, whatever river body of water that you're on, that you're going to try to catch these types of baits below these dams, approach them cautiously and look for things in the water. Over here to our left, you guys can see there's a boil or a disturbance on top of the water. And for me, that means danger.
Yes.
And
this water is very shallow. We're only talking 14 foot of water. We're in 14 foot of water right here.
yeah, that's
So it's real shallow.
There's
Yeah.
big rock formations that come up. So approach this stuff very cautiously. Take your time. Don't be in a big hurry. You know, nothing. There's not a fish. There's not a bait that is worth your life, risking your life to go after.
Got one. Oh yeah.
There we go.
That's a pig.
That's a good one right there.
Yeah, that is a good one. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
There's one.
Come here, buddy.
Fast action right here. These are good baits right here. These are grade A prime baits. We use them all over the country, don't we, Doc?
Yes, we do.
But we're fishing this seam line off this island right here, and we got a lot of current. We got 138,000 coming out of the hydros from the Wheeler Dam, and it's creating a real thick seam. There we go.
Got one?
Yep, got one. Nice. That's another male.
There we go.
Oh yeah. Fast action, folks. This is a male. You can see how skinny and long. He's got a small head on him. This right here makes a perfect bait. You can cut it up, use it whole.
We'll be right back with more Catfish Crazy action. Catfish Crazy is made possible by these outstanding sponsors: NKT.TV, Slungercat Outdoors, NKT Productions, Marine Master Trailers, Extreme Bait Tanks, Tackle Bandit, Demon Dragons, Phytech Cast Nets, Catfish Clothing, Cabela's King Cat Tourney Trail.
There we go, Doc. There we go. Now, something I like to do, folks, is let them fight a little bit. And sometimes that will attract others. Doc, you ever notice that?
Yeah, because they kind of run in schools, and usually if you just kind of slow down a little bit, you can load up. On my rig, I have 4 jigs. A lot of the rigs can be 5, 6. I only like to have 4 because if you start catching these big females, you may only get 1 out of the 4 in. Oh, that one was right at the boat. There's another one.
See, just what we was talking about,
Yeah.
right? Oh, there we go. There we go. Now, Doc,
Hey, you're catching the big ones. Here we go.
did you get one, Doc?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the one thing you don't want these guys to do is come out of the water doing their aerial dances, because a lot of times they'll just throw those jigs right out.
They sure will, won't they?
Yeah, and that's why when you hook one up, you have to keep the line tight on them.
There we go, right there at the boat.
Boy, that was right at the
right
boat.
at the boat. Whew.
That's the other thing on these guys. Their mouths are so hard. I mean, when you hook them up, you gotta really set the hook on these. A lot of people try, use crappie jigs to catch these things on, and that's really good, but if they got brass hooks, they'll bend them out real quick. You only get a couple of jacks on the brass hooks, and either it goes dull or they bend them out.
There we go, Doc. Oh boy.
You got him?
Oh boy. I think I got a couple on here. Now, Doc, these skipjack did not originate in Tennessee River, did they?
No, they came from the ocean, and then they got acclimated to fresh water, and they just worked their way up these river systems. So, they came up the Mississippi, and then they, into the Ohio, and just right on up through there.
Beautiful baits. Now, folks, you guys can find skipjack herring all over, like he said, the Mississippi, Tennessee, Cumberland, Ohio. And they're there year round.
Yeah, they're here year round here in Alabama. You know, right now they're migrating to the dams, but I catch them out in the river system and the lake away from the dam.
Now in the wintertime, they can be a little bit tougher to catch.
Yeah, but actually what you have to do is you just have to slow your presentation way down. And that's where the float rigs really come into play on these guys.
Now, so where'd they go?
Well, that bass boat come in there and kind of probably pushed them out on us. One of the things these things do not like is getting pinged with our sonars. Anytime I get out here on the water, the very first thing I do is once I find them, then I put my unit in standby so it's not sitting there sending those sound waves.
Right off that slick spot.
Right off that flat spot.
Yeah.
Two of them. There's two
Nice.
in the boat.
You know, paying attention to those little details of where specifically those fish are coming from makes such a huge difference on whether you catch a few or you're able to catch a bunch.
Yeah, because I pay attention to where I'm throwing the jig, how far I'm throwing it out, and where it's ending up, because I'm throwing into the current and then it's sweeping it across and dropping it in that kind of calm looking water right there.
Yeah, you're letting the current do the work for you.
Yeah. And generally when you pick up two at a time, you know, that means that there's a school of them sitting there and they're not singles. Okay, so the skipjacking has kind of slowed down a little bit, and I just want to see if these guys are staying below the surface of the water or if they're deep. So now what I've got now is a big cat fever spinning rod. I've got what they call an agitator. It makes noise, it bangs, it's got weights inside of it, and I've got the jigs hanging down underneath of it, and at the end of it, I've got a green Foley spoon. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw it out there, let the current take it down the river, and then just lock it in place and sit here and hold it. Normally, in a boat, if I've got rod holders, I would just go ahead and put that rod in the rod holder, but the boat we're using today doesn't have them, so I'm just gonna hold it here in my hand. So those jigs right now are staying in one spot. You know, before when we were throwing by hand, you know, we're bringing it back. I'm just literally holding it here, seeing if I can find where they're at. There we go, right there's one.
Nice. Nice little change up, huh?
Yeah, so that fish came up and hit the jigs, and it was just sitting there. It came across that current, and actually he hit the top jig. So,
wow.
So he was near the surface because it's the first jig right behind the agitator. This is the one thing about the float that kind of gives you, it's different because that float is working back and forth across that column and that seam right there, which is something we can't do when we're throwing by hand. I just had one on the float. He didn't eat it.
There's one.
He just banged it. You get him?
Oh, I got a couple on there. Now this is the fun part right here. Couple
that one's a
jumbos,
big one.
baby. Nice.
Oh, that.
Come here. Come here.
Ooh, look at that pig.
Come here. Come get it.
Oh, that was a triple.
I had three on there, didn't I, Doc?
Yeah.
Come here.
But you got the big one though.
Nice. Something I want to stress is the conservation part of this. You know, it's easy to come out here and catch these things, and it would be easy to over harvest. Don't. This is not a resource that is just endless. Take what you need for the day, maybe for a couple days, put a few in the freezer, but don't take more than what you need. That's important, isn't it, Doc?
Yeah.
Just take what you need and then come back, catch you some more. Well, Doc, we've had a wonderful time out here today.
Yes, we have.
We've caught a lot of skipjack,
Yep.
shared a lot of information, you know, and this is something that was very important to me. I'm glad to be able to get you out on the water with me to help teach these folks the importance of catching fish,
Yeah.
catching bait necessarily. And, you know, that is something we don't get to show all the time. So having that time to spend with you as a good friend and showcase how to catch bait to help people go out and chase these trophy fish was just an awesome experience and an awesome time. And
Been my pleasure.
I can't thank you enough for coming out with me today.
All right.
We shared a lot of information, a lot of good tips.
Had a lot of fun.
Had a lot of fun. Well, folks, I hope that you have enjoyed this season. This will be the last show for season 2. And take these tips, take these tricks, go out, find you some fish, find you some bait, and go catfish crazy just like we are. Till next time, God bless, tight lines, and we'll catch you on the water. Oh, is that on film? Oh my goodness. Oh, look at that.